Ricky.
And I'm James Sheridan.
And today we are giving your review to season 5, season 3, episode 6 of Star Trek Picard. And wow, this is the one we've been waiting for, isn't it, James?
Yeah, it
In
only
more
took
ways
half a
than one.
season to get there.
I'm gonna have like lifelong trauma. We're taking 4 episodes to get out of that fucking nebula.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
will say
last week.
the last few episodes have been an improvement over the first three, but like
Mhm.
it took half of the season that we've currently got to get to that point, and then half of the entire season to get to the point where it felt like the TNG family is coming together.
Yeah. So last week we talked about how we're kind of getting there. We're finally out of the nebula, and then today it was like, whew, now finally Geordi's back, Worf's back, everybody's back together except for Troy, but she's on her way.
Yeah, we'll get
Get
there.
out of pickle, and the unexpected. Guess who's back? Back again.
I had a feeling
Data's back.
he'd be back.
I did not think so. And we're gonna have to talk about the merits of unkilling characters, especially in this case. I mean, that's a whole can of worms. We could do a whole show on that. In fact, some friends of mine had their own like real time like show back in college, and they did a show on the constant resurrections in comics, deaths and resurrections. And I have a friend who from college, from film school, who's one of the most brilliant storytellers I've ever had the privilege of knowing, and he just abhors any like if any character is ever killed and unkilled, it's just the worst in his book. Like it's just there's no excuse for it. So he'd
I
probably hate this.
I normally agree, but at the same time, we're talking about a being that um, is not organic and doesn't die the same way we do. If his positronic brain and all of memory and all that whatnot was destroyed, that would be one thing. But they have made a very clear point that his memory was saved. So they,
Mm-hmm.
even from the beginning of them killing Data, they have left the door open for him to come
Well,
back, especially
well,
by
I agree with
supplanting
that.
him in B4. And what's even more
We'll
interesting is that there's a new dynamic to this Data, which
yeah.
is going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Well, I guess we'll just get into this now. The so when I first saw Star before I even saw Star Trek Nemesis in theaters 20 years ago, the review in the paper spoiled the ending. This idiot reviewer was like, and a major character is killed and brought back in the same movie. At least that took them one movie's difference to bring back Spock in the original cast. This one just does it in the same movie. So I was expecting that when I went to go see Star Trek Nemesis, and that was what I was expecting, and that's not what happened. Like they just end the movie with B4 starting to sing the song Data sang, and the implication is that Data might be in there somewhere, but we never find out because it ended up being the last movie. And whether or not it was intended to be the last movie, I've heard different things. But yeah, the implications seem to be there. And actually, in the comics, like Star Trek fans don't really take anything outside of the movies and TV seriously. And so like it's all apocryphal. So this is actually an alternate sequel than there was a comic book series that was written, I think, by the actual guys who wrote the movie called
Mm-hmm.
Star Trek Countdown,
Yeah.
which was meant to coincide with the 2009 film and is about the destruction of Romulus and the various Federation people, including Spock, who are trying to, save Romulus. And Data's in there. Like he's already been brought back, and so this is an alternate sequel to that.
With
Then
that
that
odd skunk stripe in his hair, which I
I
never
don't. Yeah,
understood
I
that
never.
design. Like,
But so yeah, the idea that Data could come back is always there. The reason this is really shocking to me, though, is because season 1 of Picard gave him a big farewell. I mean, it was kind of like the difference between bringing back someone who's the idea bring. I mean, there's a difference between bringing back some guy that got killed at the doors open and then bringing back, say, Tony Stark. Like if they ever brought back Tony Stark, that would be a disgrace to storytelling. Like that was just such a huge. I know,
and
but
yet the rumors persist.
I don't think Downey will ever do it. I think Downey is very, very. I think Downey feels as strongly as I do that that's the end for that character.
I
You don't
agree, but the
undo that.
rumors persist.
Okay. but so this is not that. This is not Tony Stark level. But the
No, but
season one of
I also think season one didn't have the idea that they would be doing a huge reunion of the
yeah.
original TNG cast in season three.
Mhm.
And the reunion to me would not be the same without Data involved. If you've only brought
Sure.
back 6 of the 7 members, it's
Mhm.
not quite the same. Like it would still be a reunion, but like especially when they teased lore in the trailers, and it's like if you're teasing lore and you're bringing back the rest of the crew, and the whole season is sort of like a tease of like we're bringing everybody back, wouldn't you put Data in there somehow, even if he's not
I
like
get it.
super involved? Like
So yeah, and it's kind of funny because we talk about unkilling. I call it unkilling. It just instead of just resurrection, the idea that you're undoing a decision you've already made. Like someone made the decision to kill this character, and you're undoing that decision. I feel like I wanted to say earlier today, I was thinking about it, I was like, I think Star Trek sort of started that because before comics ever did it, I think probably the first time that in popular culture that it was really done was Spock. And of course, the director of that movie hated the idea because they came up with the idea halfway through production. Leonard Nimoy, it's the long story, but Leonard Nimoy wanted to come back halfway through just production, made the decision he wanted to come back. And so they wrote that in there and shot extra shots of him foreshadowing his return. And director Nicholas Meyer hated it and had nothing to do with the extra shots and it made his peace because he came back to the franchise later on. But
I was
so
gonna
that
say,
I
he
thought
can't
was
stay
like,
away.
yeah, I thought that was like the first big unkilling. But then I was like, no, 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 because the probably the first big one, if you're familiar with it, is Sherlock Holmes. Arthur Conan Doyle killed off Sherlock Holmes at Reichenbach Falls with Moriarty. Ironically,
Yeah.
with Moriarty, and then made the decision to unkill him. So that's probably the first. But at any rate, it's always a trepidatious thing because you don't want to garner a reputation for just undoing deaths that you do. You always still want the threat of mortality hanging over your characters. But so I had a couple of mixed feelings, but there was
Tashiar
definitely
said
that fan. Yeah, there was definitely that fanboy side of me that was just like,
Tashiar's off in the corner, like, guys, hello, hello, killing people off, come on, bringing people back, come on. I was
sorry,
there
Denise
first,
Crosby, you made the decision.
and she's regretted it ever since. So yeah,
So
even with the Data stuff aside, I thought this episode was much improved. Not just because we get the Geordi stuff, and we get you know we're getting further into the meat of the story. We're getting the reunion of the people, and like the entire the entire plot, sort of subplot, I guess, central plot. I don't even know how to refer to it, but like them going to Daystrom, getting trapped on Daystrom, having to jet out of there to find a way back, kind of thing, because they're completely outgunned. Um, I don't know. I thought all of that was nice and thrilling, and a great sort of like placeholder for the actual like plot points of like character development and things happening with these characters and whatnot. Um, the like bizarre trip down memory lane was just so much fun. From like because they go back to this old shipyard, or the museum shipyard, and we see Voyager, we see the old Enterprise A, not the original Enterprise, but Enterprise A. We see the Defiant, which I thought was cool. And there was a great point when they come off of the um
Voyager.
not the pad, the teleporter. Sorry.
Oh.
When they step off of the teleporter, and you've got all of the TNG crew and Worf and Seven all in one place, and I'm like, oh my god, it's the entire '90s Trek represented all in one place. I don't think I've ever seen all 3 shows represented in the same sort of moment like that before. And then the scene, like one of the next scenes after that, is her going over all of these ships with Picard Jr., whose name escapes me at the minute. That was a beautiful little thing. And then like even going so far back as to like reference the HMS Bounty, which was the ship that they stole from the Klingons, went back to save the whales, renamed it, came back and saved humanity, and then lost it in the ocean. And like, there's a little tidbit about them having to go find this thing because it cloaked underwater. And how the hell do you find a cloaked ship when you're looking for it? And I thought that was a great little tidbit. And of course, like there's little music cues throughout all of that. And then, we get to Daystrom, and like it's of course just a smorgasbord of like all kinds of stuff lining the walls of just like
Yeah. James T.
like
Kirk's
that blew
remains.
my mind. but not just James T. Kirk, but the Genesis device, which means if they can convince William Shatner to at some point, they could ostensibly bring him back, because the Genesis device can bring people back from dead. You want to talk about bringing dead people back? They have
Well,
that opportunity.
it made me wonder if they're recognizing the Shatnerverse novels. The Shatnerverse was this the series of novels that was written written by William Shatner, which is kind of bullshit because it talks about like the Romulans and the Borg like have an unholy alliance and blah blah blah. And then you interview and they resurrect Captain Kirk and it's written by William Shatner. And then you talk to William Shatner and he's never watched a single episode of TNG. He probably has no idea who the Borg are. So,
Yeah,
um, but
but
at any rate,
that does make me wonder also, like, who else is there? Who else are they
yeah,
holding? And it's clearly not just weapons.
trove. Yeah,
Sorry?
it has the potential to be such a treasure trove, you know.
Yeah.
James T. Kirk's remains, Genesis. I forget what else they did, but I feel like they almost underdid it. Like they could have done like just you know,
Like,
oh
is
god,
Spock's body there? Do we know how Spock died? I don't remember them ever.
Spock went into the alternate timeline and died there 20 or 10 years later, or 5 years later.
Oh yeah,
He
he did,
died
didn't he?
in
Yeah.
yeah.
He would be trapped in the other timeline. That's right. I mean, I guess there's always a way he could come back. It's Star Trek. They
No,
can.
he died in that. He died in Star Trek Beyond.
Okay, I haven't watched those movies in years, so I don't remember.
Yeah, they get the news that Ambassador Spock has died in Star Trek Beyond that because to reflect Leonard Nimoy's actual death, and then
Yeah.
younger Spock has an existential crisis. Anyway,
Anyway,
so the
there's
fan,
other people
yes,
that they can bring back. You know,
yes, there.
Bones could be there. Scotty could be there. You know, anyone else who's ever died on the, like, the potential of them, like the fact that they're just holding dead bodies there of like famous, like two famous Starfleet captains is A, morbid, B, fucking fascinating, and very clearly a plot point, which
Well,
I think lends to proving your theory correct that that's why
has
they're
something to
after
do with the
Jack,
Borg.
is that it has something to do with the Borg, because why else would you go after Picard's deceased body?
Mhm.
Um
But
but
there's lots of ex-Borgs out there, so I don't know what's so special about Picard's body and Jack's DNA, other than we talked about the fact that Jack is the only that we know of is the only offspring of a Borg, which makes this plot similar to the plot
well,
of
Locutus was different. How he's different, I'm not
sure.
sure. Or
Yeah.
there must be something specific about what's different about him. Because
Mhm.
again, why else would you take Picard's body? Picard's body is old, feeble. It's deceased. What are you going to do with it other than steal some sort of component of it? And you know, the most valuable thing in there, I would think, besides, you know, old man organs, would be, um, you know, Borg tech that presumably is laid dormant inside of him.
Mhm.
I don't know.
So it's yeah, I think it'll have something to do with the Borg, but the Borg can't really be a villain at this point. We're just too late in the series for them to just all of a sudden become a thing next to the Dominion. Although
No, but
there is that
they could be an
voice,
underlying plot point of like, it's not the
sure,
Borg that they're bringing in, it's just the
Mhm.
tech that they need, because
Yeah,
they're not the first people to steal Borg tech to use it for other means. You know, that was the whole thing with the ship in the first Abrams film, was that it was part Romulan, part Borg. And that
what? Is that
yeah,
a thing?
yeah, that was
Is that?
I think that was in the Countdown comic, was that it was
I've never read the Countdown comic, so
it was supposed to be, you know, part Borg, and that's why it was so dangerous and so deadly, especially to, you know, older centuries of
Mhm.
tech and whatnot. But um the fact that, you know, again, the memory lane thing was fascinating. I really wish we could have spent more time, like, and see more of the imagery, like the things that are kind of held there. But then there's that whole little sequence with Moriarty showing up,
Yeah, which you've been
which,
wondering about this whole time,
and
and
I
I see
think
it
this
doesn't
is,
make sense to me anymore now. It
I
doesn't
think it
like I
makes
don't know what
perfect
happened.
sense. I think it makes perfect sense why he was there. I love that little wrinkle that they added. I still confused why they put it in the trailer, because it's not a plot point. It's not really like a story thing going on. It's just sort
Wants to
of
make
like,
fans like me go ah.
I guess, but it's like, it still seems like it's overselling the um what that is, because it felt like they were trying to make it seem like it's a story point, and I had a feeling it wasn't going to be a big one. But I think the way they did it in the show is even better than what we imagined, because it's not a story point. It's a great cameo. It's a great throwback, but it's sort of a fleeting moment, and it's not something they're hanging their hat on. And it's taking up
Mhm.
multiple episodes to tell that story. We've already spent way too much time on multiple episode story points that don't go anywhere and drag on. And it's like, this is how you do that. This is how you do a throwback to an old character, establish why they are, important, because who else do you establish as, the ultimate sort of logic based life form to, well, not life form, but logic based entity to kind of create a trap for people. And then the added wrinkle of it's not actually Moriarty, it's just a representation of
Yeah,
Data's
that's what I was
brain.
confused about. So it wasn't supposed to be actually Moriarty. It was just okay.
No, it's Data's brain using
Okay.
different things to kind of, once he like that was the whole thing, was once he realized it was Riker, he sent in the
Mhm.
crows as a visual and then started using that song, and that great flashback to the very first episode of TNG
Okay.
where they're on the holodeck and he's looking for Data and Data's trying to whistle and can't do it.
Yeah. And
And I
that was
love that.
actually also, I love that because that was actually also at the very end of Nemesis, which it's been 20 years since I've seen the movie, but I still remember like at the very end of the movie, they're all standing there sort of reminiscing about Data. And that's what Riker's talking about. It's the very
Yeah,
first time I saw Data, he was trying to whistle something. What was that song?
yeah. And Data's
It's
like, and Riker's sitting there like chiming off, like calling off the notes because, we've established he's a trained musician and whatnot, and he would know those kinds of things. And I love that puzzle that Data's like trying to solve or trying to set up for them to cue them to come to him, kind of thing. And um, I don't know, there's just so many little things that they did in this that were great. The story was great. It was very exciting. Um, the bit where they've got to steal the cloaking device, and the two kids of Geordi just kind of like, yeah, we'll go over here. Geordi and Picard just kind of steal it and put it on the ship, and it's like,
sure.
you're breaking how many conventions with this thing now? And because it's well established that the
Federation
Federation
are
has
not
agreed
allowed
to
to
never
use.
use cloaking technology, even
Yeah.
though multiple times somebody's tried.
And we got to talk about some great Geordi moments in there. Like, first of all, there's I think twice that he realizes he's getting Data back. There's when they beam aboard with Data, and he kind of gets a look on his face. And then there's later when they actually activate him, and he goes, "Data." It's just this look on LeVar Burton's face that just breaks your heart. Because they were arguably the closest among them.
Yeah,
And
they were the
and
best duo to watch on TNG because they were
yeah,
not just such close friends, but it was like watching their relationship was watching Data grow and Geordi explain things, but them going back and forth. They were like the perfect sort of like brotherly pair.
mhm.
So yeah,
And
seeing them
yeah,
reunited was
so
heartbreaking. And
it was very heartwarming. And then there's a couple other good Geordie lines where he just turns to Jack and he goes, "Stay away from my daughter," because of course they
who,
have to
me?
throw this. Now they're throwing in this sort of romantic angle of that Jack and Sydney LaForge, like the children of Picard and Geordie are going to get together, which it's like I don't have any like I know that I like them to throw stuff like that in there because I'm a romantic guy at heart, but I don't have a dog in this fight, but I do find the idea fascinating of the progeny of Picard and LaForge uh getting together, procreating and creating a mutual. I don't know if you know this, but Sean Lennon and one of Mick Jagger's daughters dated for a time, and it was
Ooh.
like, oh my gosh, they have to make a baby, they have to make a baby. we have to get this child into the universe, and they didn't. They broke up, but
I like that Geordi pegs him immediately and says, "You stay away from my daughter. I know what kind of person you are. I've never met you before, but I can already tell you are a slimy piece of shit. Stay away from my kid." And it's like,
yeah.
yes, Geordi, I love you. I love you so much.
Well, speaking
Um,
of loving Geordie, I had to get your thoughts on Shaw all of a sudden turning
I was
into
just
a
about to bring that up. Oh my god, that made me so fucking happy because Shaw's been such a like. I want to love this man because I know that there's some like good qualities to him. He's an outstanding actor, and this character is clearly here to stay. He's not just a one shot that was in a few episodes and would disappear. He's clearly part of the cast of this thing. And I love that we see him just turn into complete fanboy and like he's almost like whimpering and just like puppy like excitement at seeing Geordi and getting to talk to him. And Geordi's like, hang on there, buddy. I would love to sit there and geek out with you over technology, but we've got this other thing to deal with. And the other guy's like, "Eh." And it was such a delight to watch. It was such a great
yeah.
scene.
So altogether, a really good episode, basically just for finally bringing mostly everybody together. I've said before, my heart's not ready for when they all sit down at that conference table. It's going to break me. Now that I know Data's going to be there too, just being like, we do not know if the such and such or such and such such and such. So the ability, like to him sitting there deadpan at the conference table, giving all the exposition like that, seeing that. Oh my god, I'm just this, it is unlikely that at this time the Dominion, you know, just, seeing him spout stuff like that is just gonna break me all the more, man. Like I don't even know how I'm
I'm
gonna
also
deal with this.
fascinated that he's going to have like this multiple personality kind of thing going forward. And like I have a feeling that's probably how they got Brent Spiner back, was like now he gets to play with a completely new wrinkle with this character where he can be any version of person who's in that brain. So he can
Mhm.
be Data, he can be Lore, he can be Soon, he can be B4, he can be anyone else who's imprinted on that brain. And it's like he can switch between these personalities. And I think that's going to be kind of fascinating to watch that happen throughout this. The one thing that I'm kind of left with wondering about is the reveal of Deanna at the end,
Mhm.
because I don't know if I'm reading this wrong, but it felt like when she said hello to him at the end, it felt like there was like a sinister edge to it.
But she didn't
Like,
say hello. She said, "Oh." She said, "Oh, Will."
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, but like it's her greeting him kind of thing. But like, I'm not sure what they're trying to say with this. Is she just captured by them, or is she part of that, or
No,
like
I'm
the way
pretty
she
sure
said?
she's captured. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. But like, I don't. There's something about the way she said that at the end,
Mm.
and the tone of like the way what's her name, Vatic, I think, or something like that,
Mhm.
was
Yeah.
introducing her, felt like I'm not introducing you to a prisoner, I'm introducing you, or like a pawn in this, I'm introducing you to, something more nefarious. And it's like I don't understand what that scene is trying to imply. Like I'm just reading it as Troy's been captured by him, because I can't stand the idea of like them being at odds, or like Troy turning against them. But like
No, she's just
there's
captured and
something.
they'll get her out of there and everything will be a hunky dory and they're going to end up at the conference table.
I'm sure it is, but it's just I don't know. There's something about that scene that didn't sit right with me the way it would kind of played out, and I'm not sure what it was. And it felt like there was something else to that tone, and I can't quite peg it. So, like I'm not a fan of the idea that Dan has been captured and is just happens to be on this ship when Riker was taken. It's like I don't know why you would take both, and
Well,
like
you need one of them to kind of get the other to cooperate, right? That's how married couples tend to be. Like
I mean, have
we
you seen
want
this
one
married
guy to.
couple? They almost never get along.
But yeah, it's like I'm trying to think of anything else like in this episode. It's like the when we've been theorizing this whole time we might get to see a little bit more of the Enterprise F. Maybe it's
I'd
at the
hoped it would
museum.
be at
It's not
that yard
at the
too, and
museum. It was not, nor is the Enterprise E, which I find kind of if there's an
yeah.
Enterprise F, the Enterprise E must be decommissioned, but it's not there. Um. But
Well,
yeah, in
that
all
was one of my
likelihood,
questions. Is the Enterprise E still intact? Like, was it destroyed in battle?
yeah.
Like the D was, and like the original Enterprise, and like how many ships have we lost? Now, like, I think was it was the C that went forward in time, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, so that one is presumably lost and destroyed. I know they sent it back, but like it's probably gone too. I doubt the B is even around. So like, is the A the only existing Enterprise anymore
Exactly.
besides the F?
Yeah, I don't know, but the Enterprise E must be destroyed. Otherwise, it probably would have been in that museum. But
I'd
yeah,
hope the
likely,
NX would have been there too.
yeah, that would have been so cool to see the NX. That was,
Yeah.
but
Like I've been
people don't like
wanting
Enterprise. So
An Enterprise reference in there, and it's like
yeah.
you didn't put the most obvious one in there. Oh darn. Oh well.
Yeah, and there's so likely the only shot we'll get throughout the whole series of the Enterprise F is just that fleeting shot in the trailer
Yeah.
done on Frontier Day or whatever. But I was kind of hoping for a little bit more. But this show's all about the
Well,
Titan being on the Titan.
I'm wondering if the ships that are in that thing are the retired ships. If they're
Mm,
going to do like a parade, like you see in parade sometimes they'll have like
sure.
old classic cars and whatnot. Is this them taking out the old classic cars out of the garage to kind of like
Mhm.
zip by and show like this is the history of the Federation, and these are the glorious ships we still have, and they're beautiful history, and it's led by one of their biggest flagships ever, the
Mhm.
Enterprise F. And it's like that would be a cool way to kind of do it. But like them on the Enterprise. I know it's not likely to happen at this point, but I want them on the Enterprise.
Right. Yeah.
Like if you were to steal
That
any of
wouldn't
them,
count.
at least take the Enterprise A, or give Worf the Defiant again.
That would have been cool. Yeah. You know, them being on the Enterprise A would actually have been that would have been something.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
really
But
bring it full circle.
really bring it full circle. Yeah. With James T. Kirk going, hello, I'm James
Second
T.
start of the
Kirk.
writing, straight on till morning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, never say never until the day is dead. Never say never.
But
And
it's
with the way,
I honestly, like, I don't think that's what they're doing, but I honestly wonder if like that's part of the idea of like showing Kirk and showing Genesis right beside each other. Like they didn't take the Genesis and have Kirk killed in the same moment. Like there's like a good 20-year gap in that period,
yeah.
between when he died and or 70-year, I
Wouldn't it be
guess.
interesting if they kind of resurrect Kirk, and it's Chris Pine as a
That's what I
young,
was wondering.
like,
Which Kirk are they going for? Like, is
there's
this
like,
some sort of like
yeah.
weird time portal thing, or like,
Well, they can make his body young again and just look like Chris Pine, since that's
yeah, if it is the
so
Genesis device, it would make him young, right? Yeah.
exactly,
So
exactly.
that would be an interesting twist, one I would not expect. I don't think that's what they're doing, but it's like when you leave little tidbits like in there, like that in there, it makes my mind wander. Like there's an intention behind putting that stuff in there. Yes, it's just a reference, but like, are you seeding something for later? Because I never know with this show. But
Yeah.
again, I doubt it. I'm just the possibilities are exciting.
All right, folks. Well, we're excited. We're excited. Doug Drexler, the guy I follow on Facebook who's works on the show, he said the best is yet to come. Wait for it. The best is yet to come. I believe it. I'm very excited at this point. I want the conference room, the conference room. So you get it. You get it. All right. Well, until next time, that'll do us for today. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. And until next time, I'm Ryan Murphy.
And I'm James Sheridan
And thank you for keeping it real.
with ReelTime. Good night. Engage.
Engage.